Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachahakorash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders at Great Millstone who rule well. And as always, we give peace and salutations to the elect. And I wanted to do a response to this video uploaded by the Elder Apostle Tahar. As you can see, what is the 666 Mark 2 GMS Truth? Subscribe. The title of the video is What Say Y'all? All right, and here it is, more nasty work from the ISUPK. A caller called in asking, was the mixed multitude that left out of Egypt with the Israelites actual heathen, or were they Israelites? And let's hear his response.
He came to a question where he asked you, were there strangers in the wilderness with us when we were in Egypt? He asked you, were the strangers Israelites?
Right.
And you said yes. There was no other. Yes, you said yes, the strangers was Israelites, and you also said that there was no mixed multitude that went out with Israel out of the land of Egypt.
No, there was a mixed multitude that went out with the children of Israel, but that mixed multitude was men, women, and children that was not a part of the military of Israel.
Let's rewind that back.
So basically, he said that there was no mixed multitude that came out of Egypt with the Israelites. And there was, all right. The thing is, they were not entered into the covenant. All right. Look, there's going to be a remnant of heathen that are here on earth, when we establish the kingdom of heaven. There was a multitude of heathen, all right, at the time of Solomon when he established, David's throne. There were heathen left over that David didn't put to death. And what did Solomon do with them? Okay, he put them into servitude. Okay, and you got to understand, in Egypt, as we get the mixed multitude story, if we go to Exodus, the 12th chapter, you have to understand, as we were being exodus out of Egypt, many of the Israelites from other, areas were coming, all right, to be down with their brethren. They were called strangers who didn't have inheritance rights. But ultimately, if they had servants, all right, their servants would be a part of their household. They would be accounted as a part of their household. And as you see here in Exodus, the 12th chapter, in the 37th verse, it says, and the children of Israel sojourned from Ramses to Succoth, about 600,000 on foot, all right, that were men beside children. All right. Again, when you read this in the NLT, it says, that night the people of Israel left Ramesses and started forth for Succoth. There were about 600,000 men, plus all the children and women. All right. The women and the children. See that? And the next verse, all right, verse 38, a rabble of non-Israelites went with them, along with great flocks of herds and livestock. So here it is, you have this mixed multitude numbered amongst the cattle. All right, and a mixed multitude went up also with them, and flocks, all right, and herds and very much cattle. So who is this talking about? Captain Tazariak is saying that this isn't actual heathen, because you have a group of people, the Christians in particular, but even certain Israelites, that will bring up this mixed multitude and say that this somehow gives heathen salvation. No, it doesn't give heathen salvation. But won't heathen be in the kingdom? Won't heathen be on earth? Yes, there were particular heathen, non-Israelites, that left out of Egypt with the Israelites, but none of them were entered into the covenant that was given unto the children of Israel, man. Okay, and as you keep reading, right? As you keep reading, let's go to, all right, verse 42, ordinance of the Passover. It is a night to be much observed unto Yahweh, to bring them out of the land of Egypt. This is that night of the Lord, to be observed of all the children of Israel. in their generations. All right. And you got to understand, Jake had particular dealings with heathen as they were in Egypt. All right. As we're going to show you, even certain Egyptian men, all right, had Israelite women and they had children. As a matter of fact, let's just show you that real quick before we finish this. Let's get Leviticus. Okay. 24. Let's get Leviticus 24 and 10. Or is it Exodus 24 and 10? All right, yep. An example of punishment. NLT. One day, a man who had an Israelite mother and an Egyptian father came out. Okay, so there were certain Egyptians amongst Jake as we left out of Egypt. All right, but they weren't accounted among the children of Israel, and they damn sure didn't get entered into the covenant, as we'll show you. Okay? It's like Jake feels like they have to protect the covenant, so what they'll do is lie on the scriptures. All right? Just like this is the same camp that says Ruth wasn't a Moabite, she was actually an Israelite. No, Ruth was a Moabite, bro. Jake laid with heathen women and had children, but the children that come out of that union are Israelites. Clearly, I forget her name in the book of Esther. She said, go back to your people and go back to your people and your gods. Okay. And, you know, Ruth was like, no. Okay. Ruth wasn't an Israelite, man. Okay. It's okay. Okay. No heathen will ever receive any of the covenants that the Israelites have, but they were there and we had certain dealings with them. Just like King Solomon had dealings with Hiram, a heathen. In the kingdom of heaven, we'll have dealings with the heathen. They'll be under us though. Okay? So here it is. One day, an Israelite man who had a mother that was a man who had an Israelite mother and his father was an Egyptian. If your father is an Egyptian, you're an Egyptian. All right? Came out of his tent and got into a fight with one of the Israelite men. So this shows you that Egyptians were around. They were there. Okay? You need human resources, right? Okay? Goodness gracious. The scriptures tell you, let's get that in the book of Proverbs. All you have to do is tell the truth. The truth explains itself. This is Proverbs 24 and 28. A growing population is a king's glory. A prince without subjects has nothing. Okay? And we're going to show you, even when we got into the land, those different Canaanites that were in the land who weren't put to death, they were made drawers of water, man. Okay? During the fight, Leviticus 24 and 11, the son of the Israelite woman blasphemed the name of the Lord because he's not an Israelite. Okay? Now, as we were being exodus out of Egypt, you may have had certain heathens like, we believe on your God. This y'all God is the true power. All right? But on down the line, as you can see here, all right, this son of an Egyptian man who has an Israelite mother cursed the name of the Lord. So the man was brought to Moses, all right, for his judgment. His mother was Shelemith, the daughter of Debri of the tribe of Dan. They kept the man in custody until the Lord's will and the matter should become clear. Then the Lord said unto Moses, take that blasphemer outside the camp and tell all those who heard the curse to lay their hands on his head and stone his ass. So the people of Israel and those who curse their God will be punished for their sin. Okay, so this is a non-Israelite who was amongst us. They're going to be amongst us. All right? Let's go back to the book of Exodus, the 12th chapter. Okay? It's Exodus 12 and 42. It is the night to be much observed unto the Lord to bring them out from the land of Egypt. This is the night that the Lord be observed. All right, to be of the Lord to be observed of all the children of Israel in their generations. Again, this is not a law given unto the heathen, but amongst, all right, the children of Israel, they may have had servants that were heathen. The scriptures tell you how it handled that. All right. And the Lord said unto Moses and Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover. No stranger, all right, there shall no stranger eat thereof. Okay, what's this word for stranger? No stranger shall eat thereof. Nakar, foreign, alien, that which is foreign, foreign gods, foreigners. So this is talking about an actual heathen, right? But every man's servant that is bought for money, when thou hast circumcised him, then shall he eat thereof. All right. And you had particular Israelites who worked for other Israelites. Okay. But you wouldn't make them a bond servant. Okay. That's in the book of Leviticus, the 25th chapter. Okay. It says, a foreigner or a hired servant shall not eat thereof. So there's different classes of strangers and foreigners. You got to understand that. You had Israelites who may have come from other lands to be with particular Israelites who were of a certain status in Egypt and work for them. All right. He could eat if he was circumcised, man. Okay. It says a foreigner or a hired servant shall not eat thereof. In the house, in one house shall it be eaten. Thou shalt not carry forth aught one of the flesh abroad out of the house, neither shall ye break the bone thereof. All the congregation of Israel shall keep it. Okay? And when the stranger shall sojourn with thee and will keep the Passover to the Lord, let all his males be circumcised, and then let him come near to keep it. These are Israelites. Okay? Let's look up the word stranger here. Okay? Gar. Okay? The root word of Moses' son, Gershom. Okay? A sojourner. All right? A temporary inhabitant, a newcomer lacking inherited rights, of foreigners in Israel, though conceded rights. So these are Israelites who came from other lands. All right? And again, you can look up Moses' son, Gershom. Let's look that up. Okay, Exodus 2:22, and she bare him a son. This is a heathen woman, a Midianite, bare him a son, and he called his name Gershom, for he said, I have been a stranger in a strange land. All right, that word Gar is the root going back to Gershom, basically an Israelite born in a strange land. All right, because Gershom is counted amongst the sons of Levi. Okay, when you go into the scriptures, man. Okay. Let's see here. Boom. When you get 1 Chronicles 23, right? And 14. Now concerning Moses, the man of God, his sons were the name of the tribe of Levi. The sons of Moses were Gershom and Eleazar. Gershom is counted as a Levite, although he has a heathen mother. But his name means what? Born in a strange land. So here in Exodus, the 12th chapter, it says, when a stranger, this is speaking of Israelites, all right, shall sojourn with thee, coming from other lands. Because you got to understand, as the Exodus was happening, all these plagues, there were certain people, all right, that were Israelites coming from different lands with their servants and everything, saying, look, we want to be down with you. All right, we Israelites, okay. Will you just go kill all of the servants? No, some of the servants were alive. Okay, some of these particular heathen who Jake had dealings with, they were alive. They ultimately came out of Egypt with us. Exodus 12:48. And when a stranger shall sojourn with thee and will keep the Passover, let all his males be circumcised, and then let him come near to keep it, and he shall be as one born in the land, for no uncircumcised can eat thereof. All right, one law shall be to him that is a homeborn, and one law unto the stranger that sojourneth among you. So these are Israelites. Some are homeborn, some come from abroad. Okay, why do you think these things were written to give us order on how to handle these things, because there were heathen amongst us. Heathen weren't able to participate and eat of the Passover. Okay? If you had an Israelite servant in your house, all right, as long as he's circumcised, he can eat it. Foreigners, Israelite foreigners coming from other lands, they can eat it if they're circumcised. Okay? Because heathen were amongst us. Okay? Point blank period, man. As a matter of fact, let's get the book of Leviticus. Okay, Leviticus, the 25th chapter. Hold up. Let's get Leviticus 25. And we'll start at around 40. So all Captain Kazariak had to do was tell the truth. Yes, there were a mixed multitude coming out of Egypt with it, but that don't mean that they were a part of the covenant. Okay, when Moses sprinkled the blood in the book of, let's get Exodus 24. And 8, and Moses took the blood and sprinkled it on the people and said, behold, the blood of the covenant which the Lord hath made with you concerning all these words. All right, was heathen involved in this? No. This was for the children of Israel, man. Okay, the covenant was affirmed only between the Most High through Moses and Aaron and the Israelites. No other nation was a part of that covenant. Okay, but we had laws on how to deal with them. Now, going back to Leviticus 25, and we'll go to the book of 40. Um, 35. And if thy brother be waxen poor and fallen into decay with thee, then shalt thou relieve him. Yea, though he be a stranger. See, Israelites can be called strangers. Though he be a stranger or a sojourner, that he may live with thee. Okay, and that happened as we were leaving out of Egypt. Thou shalt take no usury of him, or increase, but fear the Lord thy God, that thy brother may live with thee. Okay, and this is kind of foretelling what the Jews would do with the Israelite foreigners, the Gentiles, man, who accepted Yahushua. Or the Jews who follow Yahushua says, thou shalt not give thy money to usury upon him, nor lend him victuals for increase. But you can do that to an actual heathen. Okay? Now, let's go to 39. And if thy brother that dwelleth with thee be waxen poor and be sold unto thee, see, you had Hebrew Israelite that can be a servant to another Hebrew. It says, thou shalt not compel him to serve as a bondservant. There's different laws and different ways you deal with a bondservant. But as an hired servant, okay, and as a sojourner, he shall be with thee and shall serve thee unto the year of Jubilee. All right, so he can get on his feet, so forth. It says, and then shall he depart from thee, both he and his children with him, and shall return unto his own family, and to his own possession, unto his father, of his fathers he shall return. For they are my servants, which I brought forth out of the land of Egypt. They shall not be sold as bondmen. Thou shalt not rule over him with rigor, but shall fear the Lord thy God. See, now let's listen to this. Both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathen that are round about you. Of them shall ye buy bondmen and bondmaids. So a Israelite servant is not to be a bondmaid, okay? But a hired servant in your house. But it's different with a bondmaid, okay? Moreover, of the children of the strangers that do sojourn among you, of them shall ye buy, and of all their families that are with you. Now, how are you going to do this if there's no mixed multitude? If all of the heathen just died off, all of the Egyptians just died off. No, man, there were heathen of other nations outside of Egyptians as well. Okay? They're sojourning among you, and you establishing yourself. Ultimately, they will be used as human resources, right? It says, of the strangers that do sojourn among you, of them shall ye buy, and of their families that are with you, which they begat in your land, they shall be your possession. And ye shall take them as an inheritance for your children after you to inherit them as a possession. They shall be your bondmen forever, but over your brethren, the children of Israel, you shall not rule over them with vigor. Point blank period, man. You see? And again, when Solomon, I just brought it up in 1 Kings, the 9th chapter, after David beat down all the heathen, when Solomon took the throne, verse 20, and there were still some people living in the land who were not Israelites, including Amorites, Hivites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. These were descendants of the nations whom the people of Israel had not completely destroyed. So Solomon conscripted them to his labor force and to serve in his labor force unto this day. But Solomon did not conscript any of the Israelites for forced labor. Instead, he assigned them to serve as fighting men, government officials, officers, captains in his army. So he's keeping the very law that we just read. Okay? So again, yes, there were a mixed multitude, but when you get the book of Numbers, right, as, you know, everything is being accounted for, right, they weren't numbered amongst the camp of Israel, man. You see the tribes of Israel: Reuben, Simeon, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Ephraim, you know, Manasseh, Benjamin, Dan, Asher, so Naphtali, so forth. These are the chosen leaders of the community, the leaders of their ancestral tribes, the heads of the clans of Israel. Okay, so none of the heathen were numbered amongst this. None of the heathen were entered into the covenant. Even when we went to spy out the land in Numbers, the 13th chapter, right? When we went to spy out the land, so Moses, Numbers 13:3, so Moses did as the Lord commanded him, and he sent out 12 men, all tribal leaders of Israel, from the camp into the wilderness. You don't see none of the mixed multitude going to spy out the land. Okay, you don't really hear much about them outside of in Numbers, the 11th chapter. They start murmuring, and the children of Israel start murmuring with them. Okay? Point blank period, man. Numbers 11:4. And the mixed multitude that was among them fell a lusting, and the children of Israel also wept again, saying, who shall give us flesh to eat? So because of the spirit the mixed multitude were in, some Israelites saw that, and they started to join them in that bullshit. But they were two separate people, man. So why is Captain Desariak, the home of the truth, right, so ashamed to just say, yeah, they were heathen? They were all, there's going to be heathen in the kingdom. That don't mean they're going to be entered into the new covenant. Like in Joshua, an example, Joshua, the 9th chapter, as we got into the land to a degree, around 21. Okay, they ran into some Hamites. You could read the story on your own, or some Gibeonites. Joshua 9:21, let them live. So they made them woodcutters and water carriers for the entire community, as the Israelite leaders directed. So they put these guys in to work. Okay, these are heathen that were in the land, right? But what did Joshua and them do to them, man? They made them drawers of water. They put their ass to work. What do you think we gonna do with it? Because again, there's gonna be heathen in the kingdom. Zechariah 14. Okay, Zechariah 14 and around 16, if this loads. We always get that, right? Zechariah 14 and 16, and it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from 1 year to worship the King, Yahweh, the Lord of hosts, and keep the Feast of Tabernacles. So they're going to be forced to follow our ways. Okay, remember Yahweh Shai said in Revelation 2, it's just simple information. We've done lessons on this before. We got lessons going, into this. But Revelation 2 and 26, and he that overcometh and keepeth my works to the end, to him will I give power over the nations, and he shall rule over them with a rod of iron. As the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I have received of my Father. So again, the nations are our possession. In the kingdom of heaven, they will be there, but will they be a part of the new covenant? No, they're not going to have new bodies. They're not going to be, all right, sinless. Because again, here, even in Zechariah, is letting you know that they're going to have to be forced to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. Right? Zechariah 14 and 16, and it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations, just like there were nations left when we left out of Egypt, there were nations left when King Solomon established the throne of David. There are going to be nations left when we establish the throne of David under Yahweh Shai. And what's going to happen? The law is going to be implemented. And it shall come to pass, everyone that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from 1 year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and keep the Feast of Tabernacles. And it shall be that whoso will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain. And if the family of Egypt go not up, so there's going to be Egyptians in the kingdom, go not up to keep and come that have no rain, there shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite the heathen that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. This shall be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all nations that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. Now the new covenant says this. I'll get Hebrews 8. And 10, for this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws into their mind, and I will write them in their hearts, and they will be unto me a God, and I shall be unto them a people. He's going to dwell in us. And they shall not teach every man his neighbor, saying, know the Lord, all right, and his brother saying, know the Lord, for all shall know me from least to greatest. So every Israelite, okay, after the 2/3 are destroyed, every Israelite on earth or that is born into the earth is going to be born into the covenant where they're going to know the Lord. They're not going to have to be taught. We're not have to be priests unto our people, telling them, administer them the law, telling them this is what the Lord requires. That won't happen. However, Micah tells you what? And we'll end it off here. It shows you these guys are glorified novices, man. They may know some things, and this ain't hate. I don't hate Captain Tazariak. I don't like the spirit he's in, but he stay going off. And y'all stance on John the Baptist is going to get y'all destroyed if y'all don't repent. All right? Your faithfulness to General Yohanan is going to get you dealt with, Captain Tazariak. And remember who really taught you the scriptures is Brothers of Great Millstone. Okay? That's why you were able to shoot up to the top when you got with ISUPK. Micah 4:1, but in the last days it shall come to pass that the mountain of the house of Yahweh shall be established on top of the mountains, and it shall be exalted above the hills, and people shall flow into it. And many nations shall come and say, come, let us go to the mountain of the Lord, and to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths, for the law shall go forth of Jerusalem, and the word of the Lord from Zion. So here it is. We're going to teach the heathen because they're not going to be under the new covenant. But the thing is, they will be there. They're going to be there, man. Okay? But they're not going to have any inheritance. Like when you get to Numbers 26, okay, when you deal with how the inheritance was parted amongst the 12 tribes of Israel, okay, none of the mixed multitude had inheritance rights. Hell, even a Judite couldn't have inheritance amongst Reuben. Even Dan couldn't have inheritance amongst Issachar. So how in the hell could a heathen, which you got these weirdos, Vocab Malone and them talking about Caleb was a heathen, when he received inheritance in the land of Judah. So not even a heathen, not even another Israelite could get inheritance in the tribe of another tribe. But here it is, a heathen can get inheritance. This is why these people just need to shut the hell up. All right, but overall, Captain Tazariak was wrong.
With Israel out of the land of Egypt.
No, there was a mixed multitude that went out with the children of Israel, but that mixed multitude was men, women, and children that was not a part of the military of Israel.
He's wrong.
Say it again.
That went out Israel out of the land of Egypt.
No, there was a mixed multitude that went out with the children of Israel, but that mixed multitude was men, women, and children that was not a part of the military of Israel.
So the mixed multitude, according to what he just said, I'll let you hear it 3 times. You can rewind it back, bring it back 4, 5, 6 to 100 times. Okay, that's what he said. That the stranger of the mixed multitude were actually, in fact, Israelites. So what say y'all? Let's listen to a little bit more.
So when you read Exodus 12, and
So y'all saw it, showing you these dudes are going off, and there's all kind of videos where these dudes be going off. Sometimes we address it, you know, or you know, brothers at GMS, we address everything. But you see, these guys walking around talking about, you know, they got it, they ain't got it. Just tell the truth. Shalom.